Hello and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality weekly show with Elisa and Patrick Arundel for week commencing the 22nd of March. We've got absolutely loads to get through this week, but first of all I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you had a lovely spring equinox. And so there is a sense of new beginnings as the sun has returned to the sign of Aries. But there's lots of other exciting stuff this week. But first of all, Lisa's going to share with you the Hermetic wheel. So what does the tarot tell us for this week then?
Well, we pop the Hermetic wheel on the screen there. We'll see that for this week, we are ruled by the first decan of Aries, which is very much about initiation, go-getting energy. And it's a Two of Wands here. So we had that a little bit over the weekend, but that really is the next 10 days of our cycle that card is ruling that.
So the first decan of Aries is ruled by the Two of Wands.
Yeah, so...
And what about the court card that governs?
So the court card that's governing that is the Queen of Wands. So we have yet more fire. So we think of the Two of Wands is about partnerships, particularly business partnerships can do very well under this card. Or any kind of things where we're working together to build a new future. It's very exciting, very passionate. And then we have that Queen of Wands energy, which is very thrusting forward. She really goes for it.
So what's the symbolism of the Queen of Wands? Because you've got the fire energy of the Wands, we've got the sign of Aries. What does the more feminine energies of the Queen bring to the situation?
Well, that's really great that you've asked that question, because if we think of the court cards, they are split into gender roles, but it's not necessarily just because they're that gender, it's the traits that they carry. So the Queen of Wands does have that more feminine energy.
So this is where the traditionality of when the tarot was envisioned and enacted, society has changed hugely. Now we tend to think of not so much as gender or even sexuality, but we all have masculine and feminine traits.
So the Queen of Wands carries the feminine traits of protection.
Okay.
I like to think of her as the lioness. So if we think about a pride of lions, we will have a male that is, in charge of that group, and that's the way that lions have evolved. However, if the male is seen to be not wanted as the head of that group anymore, then the females will let him know. They will also protect their young.
It can be quite sad for male lions.
It can. It really can. Once the females turn on them, then they haven't got much luck.
We're obviously being very careful what we're saying here, but
yes. So the Queen of Wands carries the protective feminine energy. It's about looking after the young. It's about thinking about future generations. So in that way, it could be about environmental issues, activism, anything that is about the more fiery side of that protective feminine energy.
I think you've described that absolutely brilliantly. Now, are you going to pick a card for this week to give us a bit more precision actually within this week itself?
So for this week, I thought instead of us going into a tarot card, because we've already kind of discovered the tarot energies of this week, that we'd use an energy card.
Okay.
I thought that would be nice.
So what have you chosen?
The energy cards that we're using are really beautiful. They give a very direct sort of energy as to what's going on for the week. So let's have a look here. Give them a shuffle.
So they give a very direct guide through the meaning of the energy card.
Definitely, and there's a lot of different meanings in this deck, which is why I really enjoy using them. So, the word on this card is cornucopia, and if we think about a cornucopia, it's full of those fruits, full of abundance. A cornucopia is a symbol of abundance. So this could be some kind of financial good news coming in for some of us this week. It could also mean that if we are in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe that bit of sunshine and that new growth of life coming out.
Some spring flowers shooting up, crocuses.
Yeah.
We saw some snowdrops the other day, but also we saw some bluebells, which is quite early. Yeah, daffodils absolutely everywhere. We've got cherry blossom on a tree just a couple of doors down from us. It's really exciting.
Yeah,
so a kind of abundance.
Yeah, new life. So that, for me, completely ties in with that Two of Wands energy and that Queen of Wands energy. We may get a bit fiery this week, but I think it's going to be in a positive and productive way.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the astrology, the most amazing thing about this week, I think, is that Venus had joined with Aries, the Sun in Aries, just at the end of last week, and is in conjunction with the Sun all this week, and at one point combust. That's where they're exactly side by side. Now, the interesting thing about different astrologers have different viewpoints on this particular subject. Some people will say that in a natal chart, if Venus is so close to the Sun completely overshadows the more feminine, alluring and attracting energies of Venus. I personally don't see it that way. I see the conjunction of the two this week in Aries is about that initiation again. It's about having the courage to follow through on our hunches, because the sign of Aries, people who are Aries or Aries ascendant, Aries moon, sometimes get accused of not having much sticking power. But in the cycle of the Zodiac, which has just begun, which means the circle of animals, the Zodiac, if you think about it, we always need something which sparks off the initial process. And there may be different characters there are different characters in the horoscope wheel, the horoscope story, to provide different energies. So the energies of Taurus is very much about consolidation, it's about stability, it's about the earth. But the sign of Aries is about getting the project moving. So I feel that if you're attracted to someone, for example, Venus being very close to the Sun is saying, look, in traditional astrology, Venus is seen as being debilitated in the sign of Aries in a natal chart, but I would see this as an opportunity to have the courage of our convictions. So if there is somebody that you fancy and you felt a little bit tentative about getting in touch, maybe it's a friend of a friend, maybe it's someone you have seen on a digital dating site, this is a good time to go for it, to go outside your comfort zone. I can't guarantee that there would be success, but what I can guarantee is that your natural allure will be maximized by the fire, the cardinality of this sign, and the energies of Venus, which pulls opportunities to us. And having the Sun there, for me, reinforces Venus. It doesn't dilute it. Now, the other thing about this week is that we also have Mars, the ruler of Aries, is forging a very stable link with Saturn. Now, if you cast your mind back a few weeks ago, in fact from the 7th of January for about 6 weeks, Mars was going through a series of very turbulent and frustrating right angles with the group of planets in Aquarius. But now Mars in Gemini, which is very much about speed of thought, speed of action, great for moving around more, being more physical, it's being stabilized by the energy of Saturn in Aquarius. So if there's something we're trying to build up, but we're building it up through good research, we've done our due diligence through the thinking prism of the air sign they both occupy, it means we can be very constructive in actions which have a good chance of enduring. That's the stability that Saturn brings to the more sort of gung-ho energy of the planet Mars. But it is true that also on Monday and Tuesday, Mercury and Uranus are in a very charismatic, flashing, quick-moving sextile, and something could just speed up or really start to take on a life force of its own, which can be very exciting. It is true, however, that although Mars is in a conjunction with the North Node, that can give us the action to go with our instinct, which is the North Node. So that can be very positive. But both are being squared by Mercury as the week goes on. So there could be a little bit of nervous tension going around this week. I feel that's entirely possible. And that brings us, of course, to the Libran full moon, which occurs on Sunday at 7:48 Universal Central Time. Now, the interesting thing about this full moon, which is obviously all about balance and equilibrium, the planet which governs the sign of Libra is very closely still allied to the Sun on the other side of the heavens. You've got it, it's Venus. So I think this is going to be a potentially very gracious full moon. And if we do need to address relationship issues, our ability to listen, to be diplomatic, to exchange ideas in a more detached and a more fair-minded way can be a very good way, even if there is someone at work we might find a bit difficult to get along with. Venus is saying, look, cut them a little bit of slack. Try to find areas of mutual interest. Celebrate the things we have in common, not focusing on the things that make us different, which tends to be a very big part of modern society, where we're also tribal about our ideas, and we're going into action as keyboard warriors, expressing all these ideas, and it's creating a lot of tension and a lot of, sometimes gives people a real voice to express opinions that need to be heard about fairness. But also it's important to know what not to sweat, what to let go of. And in fact, Jupiter and Neptune continue a glorious semi-sextile this week. So if we can embrace a more spiritual approach to life, which we realise means we don't always get what we want, it's not always perfect, the only perfection is imperfection, and that sometimes we just have to sort of accept that it is what it is. And in fact, the backdrop for this week is the quarter moon, which occurred last Sunday, and that is a square between the moon in Cancer and the sun in Aries. And that's just saying, whatever we do with the action-orientated energy of the cards that Elisa has explained to you, the Hermetic cards, and also the cornucopia card, we also realise that it's very important, if we take action and we see progress, that we stay very closely in touch with our gut feeling, which is the energy of that Cancer quarter moon. So just to recap, this is a very unusual week in that the Sun and Venus are so closely bound together, and that includes the full moon in the sign of Libra at the end of the week, which is bringing to the surface issues around relationships. And I feel the key for us all in the following 2 weeks is to try to find those points of agreement, or those points where even if we don't agree, we agree to disagree. We all become a little bit more gentle about our interactions. So negotiation, discernment, listening carefully are types of qualities that do get swept aside these days, unfortunately, by the instantaneous frustration that we can all show through social media. Now, Elisa, you're also going to do a thought for the week.
Yeah, so we're going to do a thought for the week. And also what I'd like to mention is we've been having such great fun with our Patreons this week. We've been doing a lot of sort of vlog style videos and just really interacting. And one of our Patreons suggested that we do like a mailbag. So for next week, if you have any questions about whatever it may be, astrology, spirituality,
your personal situation,
just write in and we'll put those questions into the cookie jar and do a mailbag next week. Yes.
And we're going to announce the winner of the free birthday solar return after we've done this week's thought for the week.
Okay,
so here we go.
Let's have a little delve into here. Oh.
Are we going to get one we've had before?
No, this is a new one. And
That's good.
The word is strength. I love this. For me, this is like the tarot card strength, which is very much that lion or lioness energy, which ties into the Aries theme of the week as well. Strength isn't just about that physical strength. In fact, for most of us, when we're going through turbulent times in life, it's that inner strength that comes out that can really help us with our physical strength, but also just gives us that push to break through any grief that we're experiencing or any down times that we're experiencing. Because in life we all have these different milestones. They might not be exactly the same, we might not experience them in the same way, but we all do have ups and downs. And I think this is about knowing that the downs won't always be.
And I think through social media, again, we all know that social media can be wonderful because, we can communicate with people like we do from all around the world, and it's our family. And I should just say that the vlog that Elisa's been sharing for our patrons is not being excluded in any way, but we're just sharing some personal information in our journey because we're transitioning out of living in quite a large medieval town. You've got to watch the water coming out the windows as you're walking through, There's no sanitation. Sire, get out of me way as I throw me slops out.
To dodge the boiling oil.
Yeah, because there is actually a lane. There's lots of shuts. They're called shuts in Shrewsbury. And you can imagine medieval buildings very closely together. And one of the shuts is called Grope Lane.
Grope Lane.
Yes.
We went down there on our first date.
We did go down on our first date, actually. And then, we had a coffee in a coffee.
Yeah, I was at the second date.
That was the second date, was it? Yeah. And now it's got a Harry Potter shop down it, which Elisa loves. And immediately took her brother to it once lockdown was eased a bit last year.
Yeah.
But Grope Lane is very classical of the medieval environment of Shrewsbury, so it's absolutely amazing. But we're actually heading off to live by the sea, and we still haven't discovered the place that we're going to live. We went on a road trip on Friday, which took about 10 or 12 hours. It's quite exhausting. We didn't get back to about 8 o'clock at night. And we're off again on Tuesday on that road trip to try to find the property that we need to move to. But it's all about getting closer to nature, getting closer to the sea. And if you'd like to join us in some of our personal offerings around that, please feel very welcome to become a patron. But of course, as a patron, you'll get way more. And remember, just by watching this show, please see the link beneath this video to sign up for your free daily horoscope. You can get that delivered directly to your email, your smartphone, every single day, no cost whatsoever. And you also get other mail outs of other topical information that we're sharing if you so choose. So that's a bit of context for the Patreon story. But for me, the strength card comes up. If you have ever watched a marathon on the telly, I mean, one of the big marathons, obviously, is the London Marathon, because obviously there are very serious marathons elsewhere, like the Boston Marathon is one of the elite marathons in the world, and of course the Olympic Marathon. But one of the things that makes the London Marathon, from what I can see, quite unique is that you'll get the elite runners, which they, carol and marshal very carefully, and you get two different races, the men and the women, and off they go. And these people are absolutely amazing, finishing just over 2 hours. But the pictures are still streaming in, and you get someone who's going around as a donkey, or someone who's maybe an amputee, has been, in a serious road accident or has done military service. And that person will toil away and sometimes not even finish the marathon that day. It will be the day afterwards. But if it is someone toiling around in a cow suit to raise money for Hodgkin's lymphoma, for example, which is a cancer dear to my heart, because Jacqueline, who works with us and has worked with me for 25 years, she had that very seriously, a grade 4 cancer. So all these people do this marvellous fundraising, dressing up in different costumes. So some people are elite, some people are fun, some people are very serious about raising money for charity and put themselves under a massive burden by wearing this heavy stuff. So say you're someone who has had issues with your weight, that as you see it, not how I see it, and you do the London Marathon and you've lost, say, 20% of your body weight over the last few years. You do the London Marathon, you get your medal, but it takes you 8 or 10 or 12 hours to do that. Who is showing more strength? The elite athlete who can do the race in just over 2 hours, who's paid, these days to get the right nutrition, and they're practicing all the time. And obviously they've got a gift, and of course they show enormous courage, and they have to dig deep to really make that difference, to be better than the next elite athlete that comes in 5 seconds behind them. But from a standing point, who's showing the greatest strength? I think it's the paraplegic, it's the person who has lost weight, it's the person who's in the cow costume raising money for charity, because for them, they actually are running at their pace for so much longer. So they have to show much more strength. Yeah. And yet the way modern society is, it's always the quickest, the biggest, the flashiest that we see on Facebook that is our, if you like, thumb, is our sort of...
our gauge of what success looks like.
Of what is, exactly. But life is much more complex than that. It's much more nuanced. And those people are showing tremendous strength. Yeah. So whatever troubles we've all had, or struggles, or the losses we've experienced, if it hasn't always been a straight line, if we've had illness, or whatever, or unemployment, or all of us have been affected by COVID in one way or another.
Any oppression in any capacity.
Correct. People are showing strength. So I think I'd like to raise the sword and knight everyone. Rise, O strengtholocks.
Yay.
All of you, rise.
And
come back to my castle for mead.
Well, that would be fun. I wish we could do that.
Really important to do that. Now, of course,
the winner.
The winner of the solar return. Now, as ever with Elise tonight, we're absolutely, totally behind. We haven't done any preparation because we are
this is how we roll.
full on with what's going on at the moment. So let's have a little look. So the winner is Katrina,
yes.
whose birthday is...
Queen of Wands on YouTube.
Queen of Wands on YouTube, and Katrina was born on the 25th of March in 1978 in Scotland, in Glasgow in Scotland, and at 3:15 p.m. Now, Katrina, I don't know if you've ever had your nativity read before. I'm just looking at your chart, and the first thing I see is that you've got Saturn in Leo, a very proud place to have Saturn, but you have it in the first house. You've got a Leo ascendant, which gives you a magnificence, but you have Saturn right on it. So the chances are that your energy or your desire to manifest your individuality has not come without an awful lot of hard work. But you also have beautiful generosity of spirit. You have Venus opposite the moon. So your moon's in the lovely balanced Libra, and your Venus is in Aries, which technically is debilitated. But I actually really like people who have Venus in Aries in their natal charts, because I think it gives them a kind of go-getting. If they want something, especially around a relationship, they have the courage to take that risk to reach out for it. Now you also have Eros, the asteroid of kind of deeper affection, very close to Venus in your chart. You also have the Sun, the South Node, and Mercury all in Aries in the 9th house. So you're a truth seeker, you're someone who loves to travel, but because you've got the North Node in Libra, in the 3rd house of everyday ideas, opposite the Sun in the 9th house of higher ideals, I think there's probably been times in your life, Katrina, where maybe you've had situations where you've had to stand firm because people have had different kind of viewpoints to you. So I think you're a conviction. Conviction's very important to you, and you probably had to stand for your point of view. But you do have a terrific angle between Mercury, Saturn, and also your ascendant, which means that I think learning has been a big part of your life. But what I would tell you is the midpoint between your Sun and the Moon is actually in the conservative sign of Capricorn in the 5th house. So I think, to me, that tells me that you take your creativity, flair, but also romantic situation seriously. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, in recent times, you've been really battered a little bit, I would say, by the role of Pluto, because Pluto and, of course, Saturn have been forging an opposition with your natal Mars, which is in a very sensitive location. Mars in Cancer is in full. It's at 25 degrees in your 12th house. So you're someone who thinks very deeply about things. But I think over the last couple of years, and even at the moment, you've got Pluto opposite that Mars in... it's actually in the 6th house. So it's quite psychological. So it had been in the 5th house. But I would say with Saturn and Pluto going through your 5th house over the last couple of years, therefore squaring up with the group of planets that you've had in Aries and in Libra, I think there probably has been some tensions about a relationship. And I think that the politics around all of this is just really starting to come to a close. Now, what does your solar return tell us? Okay, well, what I've done is I've put your solar return inside your natal horoscope. Okay, so the midpoint on your solar return this year is actually in Gemini, and it's conjunct Mars, but also it's conjunct the North Node. So I would say to you that your instinct around your work, your public role, or the way you communicate is actually going to be very good, and you need to give yourself permission to really believe the energies that you're feeling and just go for it. Just have the courage to go for it. You do have that big challenge of Pluto opposite Mars, still ongoing, which can create some politics. But Mars opposite Pluto can also give us a tremendous endurance to overcome challenges. And you may be almost like one of those marathon runners who's taking longer perhaps to get to the finish line. But my word, you'll have plenty of endurance to keep going. You won't give in easily. Now, your midheaven is very, very close to your natal north node. So that suggests to me, therefore, your fourth house is right on your south node. So I feel it's possible that there could be a change of residence for you this year. Let's just look at your solar return in its isolation. Yeah, I think there's every chance that you're going to beautify or enhance where you live now, or move altogether. If you have children and you would like an addition to the family through one of your offspring, that could be an area of delight too. You also have a conjunction. It's not a conjunction, it's a bit broader than that, but you have Saturn and Jupiter both in your second house. If you really work hard at your ideas, I think there's an opportunity for you to improve your financial situation. And in terms of relationships, personal relationships, that conjunction between the North Node Mars and your midpoint is all in the seventh house. So I think if an opportunity comes up to get to know somebody new, or you need to be more competitive, or you need to demonstrate your boundaries a little bit more forcefully, you can do so with aplomb, because you have the confidence but also the sensitivity to find just the right balance. So just to summarize for you, your chart is a chart of a communicator, someone who loves ideas, but there is a conservative core to your nature, because at heart the balance of your male and masculine and feminine energies are actually in Capricorn, and you do have a serious way of being. And I think, even when you were younger, perhaps as a child, maybe you had some kind of limitation around your health or your energy, which may have made things a bit tricky to begin with. But I think your determination to overcome that would have been terrific. Relationships the last couple of years have not been easy, but in this year there's an opportunity for fresh starts. Your business prospects are boosted, and I do feel that you could be moving or beautifying where you live, or making money from a business that's based at home. So that concludes just a mini reading for Katrina. But if you would like your solar return analysed, so your birthday starts from week commencing the 29th of March, then please send in your time, date and place of birth, and we'll pick a lucky winner to share that with. Yeah. And I hope that all resonates with you, Katrina. So, Elisa, how would you like to summarise this week's weekly show then?
I think for this week, for all of us, it is about taking a few risks, but not gambles. So for me, it's a risk is something that we do when we feel that something is really right, when we feel, we're not just diving into something not knowing how it's going to end. There's a bit of structure to it, but that initiation is really important for all of us this week, to just get our hands onto starting something new, even if we don't quite know how it's going to work.
Yeah, and also if we try to start something new and it doesn't work out, at least we will have the satisfaction of knowing we tried.
Yeah.
And also we might try something that instinctively we think that we'd be very good at, or we'd have an aptitude for, and then we may have another experience further down the line which informs us that perhaps that is not for us, but we've gained a great deal of information and self-awareness by trying that in the first place. And we can then put, well, I've done that, I've worn that t-shirt, I've satisfied that, but at least we know. If we're always sitting tentatively, or not sure whether to branch out, go outside of our comfort zone, do something differently, whether it's a spiritual new start, whether it's an intellectual new start with a new hobby, or learning something new like a language or how to play an instrument, or it is about physically being more daring, or it's more perhaps speculative with our resources. As long as we do that due diligence that Elisa's talking about, we research things. And remember, Saturn is bringing a lot of steadfastness and a lot of steadiness to the energies of Mars and the North Node this week in a very helpful way. So I would say our gut instinct linked to action could work very well for us this week. There just could be a little bit of nervous tension.
Brilliant. Oh, it's so exciting. Thank you so much for joining us for this week. And if you would like to come along for our next road trip, then you can become a Patreon from as little as $3 a month, and you will be informed of all those vlogs that we go through.
Thank you so much. And if you're new to the show or you've yet to subscribe, we'd be absolutely delighted if you would press that subscribe button or tap it if you're on a mobile device. It would be lovely to have you part of us. But for now, have a wonderful week. And from the A-Team, it is
Goodbye from him.
and it's goodbye from her.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.